Screw an intro, it's Buzza, and let's just jump right into this. So first, the thumbnails, clickbait. Second, I don't have an ego, and I don't think this is going to make Tarkov the greatest game ever. Basically, they're just ideas that I wanted to make a YouTube video about. And that's as far as I got, to be honest. So the three main ideas that we're going to be talking about today are the events, the systems that are working inside the game, and like reworks and incentive ideas for survival. So first, we have a lot of maps. That's obvious. So one of the things I want to focus on for this topic is the nighttime and daytime in servers. Now, I think nighttime in EFT is an amazing experience. It's unique, and I think it's just not utilized very well in this game. Now, if we look at Factory here, you can see that they can stop the times. So I know that in the terms of their abilities, they can actually do this. So one of the ideas I propose is that we have a left time server, which is daytime, that runs between 7 in the morning and 7 at night. Maybe you can adjust these a little bit, but it's usually just day. And then on the right side, it's a nighttime like Factory that's just stuck at 2 a.m. Because nothing sucks more when you load in and it's actually not dark enough to use night vision. So now you might be asking, what does any of this have to do with events? Boom, the new idea. So the first one we're going to be looking at is the red skull and the two cultist blades behind it that are glowing green. Now, essentially this event will last 7 days, and what it does is it's nighttime only, and it changes all scavs to raiders, and it also increases the cultist spawn rate by, let's say, 3 times. Now, you might be asking, what does this really do? What it does is it creates a hot zone in a new map every week. And this hot zone will essentially be really good for PvP and PvP. Now, this will be allowing players that want more action and more loot, because by having raiders and cultists increased on the map and stuff like that, it just generally increases the loot that you get from that map. Now, to make this quick, the next event would be 24 hours, and let's say it's on woods. Maybe it spawns 2 extra bosses, or maybe it spawns all the bosses on that map. But that one resets every single day. So now let's load into the hideout. Now we're going to look into systems, and I think we're going to need our thinking cap for this because there's a lot to go over. So the first question I want to ask is, let's talk about the AKM. How many ways do you guys think you can actually obtain a AKM through like systems of looting? Oh wait, try and guess a number. Good job if you know, it's actually 5. So the first one is make it in a hideout for 1 hour and 35 minutes, which is insane. Then you can barter it from traders, buy from the traders with rubles. You can then buy it from players with rubles, and then also you can just find it inside the game. Now you could also say like your scav could be like a 6 mechanic, but I'm not getting into that. So when it comes to gamers nowadays, we aren't idiots. We're always going to use the easiest path available, and that's going to be the cheapest one for Tarkov. So you have 4 other systems that are essentially useless. Also, it can get really weird when balancing items when it comes to barters and stuff like that. So I'm sure Tarkov devs know about their systems, and it just takes a lot of work, plus they're trying to produce like everything else to finish the game, and I'm sure they'll probably go back to this later. Understandable. I just wanted to point it out, and I feel sorry for the devs that probably got to go fix these after. Now to move on from systems to incentives and reworks, honestly we have to talk about the gameplay. So it's time for a little story, and we're going to explain the issue that I think is going on with Tarkov. So let's talk about some of the issues that I hear constantly.
Streamers are killing Tarkov. Nikita's an idiot.
I only have time for 1 hour a month.
We need more maps.
So, now memes aside, everyone's opinions and like distaste with the game is honestly justified. I don't have an issue with what people are talking about when it comes to what they don't like about a video game. Let's take a look at the core gameplay. So of course you have quests, traders, hideouts, all this other good stuff, but let's simplify it. Essentially, you're loading into a map, you're walking along, traveling, you're playing the raid, okay? As a rat, a chat, whatever stupid thing we're calling it nowadays. And you're filling your backpacks up. At the end of the day, that's your job, okay? We're simplifying everything. It's to fill your backpack. Now let's pretend the raid's over, and we're going to look inside our rat's backpack. Now looking at this as any other survival game, you'd probably think that the weapon and the silencer and probably a scope that's magnified is probably the most useful in that backpack right here. But in Tarkov, what we see is this. Everything is what is it in rubles. If you watch streamers, you'll see it. Like, oh, this is worth this. Why didn't you get that? It's worth this much. Blah, 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 blah. Everything is what is it in the cost of rubles, because we can go on the flea market or in the trader to just buy it. And I think this is the core problem to the game, is because all it is going in, liquidating in rubles and buying what you want. And that's fun for a while. but it does get very mundane. So now let's take a look at what essentially progresses you through a game. Is skill and time played, which we'll just call time for this. Now in skill, you'll always have the top 1%. You can never change that on how fast they progress. But honestly, it doesn't have an effect on the game because the other 99% is progressing at the normal speed through skill. But the end goal is always the same regardless of skill or time, and that's to make it enjoyable. Which in the skill department, I think even if you're bad, it's still enjoyable. So instead of everything being rubles, how do we bring the focus of the game to life, which is looting? And this is how we do it in my opinion. First issue is the traders. They sell too much stuff, and each one should be limited to level 2, and after that, it's just quests and quest rewards. The main reason for this is they have too much control over what pricing stuff is, because if you can always buy it from Prapper for 45k, you'll never buy it from a player for higher. So it limits the whole entire economy. We have a flea market for a reason. The next thing I would do is remove all attachments and all helmets from all traders, even contacts. All of those should be found in raid so that you get enjoyment out of finding actual loot in this game. And it's actually useful. You never see a Chad running around with a 90 recoil M4. Why? Because that's not endgame. It's not the M4 that is endgame. It's the attachments. Endgame attachments are not actually equal their worth. So let's take silencers for example. Silencers a lot of the times are less than the actual gun, which you can say makes sense, but in a survival game, the two most important things for attachments is a magnified scope if the maps are large, and a silencer so that you can kill people without ever being heard. Now moving on to the final idea that I think would fix a lot of the disparity between, say, a lower skilled player that doesn't have a lot of time and someone who can play 24/7. A hideout overhaul. I also think it'll make it more fun too. So let's dive into this. So here we would have the new selections: weapon, armor, attachments, tactical rigs, and helmets. Now how the new hideout will work is that everything has to be found in raid to make something. The reason for this is that the end game gear will be made through your hideout, and also when you make it, it will be not found in raid. We'll start by getting rid of the workbench level. This is just open to everyone the moment you get on. Now let's take a look at the weapons. Now the idea behind this is to make that each weapon is to use weapon parts, okay? It's to simplify one resource for weapons. So like armor and rigs are the clothing. Weapons can be weapon parts, and attachments can also be attachment parts if they add that into the game. Now you'd also go check out the deconstruct button, which would allow you to deconstruct, let's say, AKs to get more weapon parts, and then you could build an MDR, or let's say an AS-Val, and it lets you use guns that you don't want into parts. And this is just a quick look at like what the attachments could look like, and then also how like I think the UI really needs to be cleaned up for quality of life. I'm gonna be honest. So yeah, that's basically just my ideas. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I might make another one of these, just experimenting with ideas that I have and just throwing it in a video. Have a good one, guys. Peace.